Okay, so now we are in this video where we are more focused. We have learned about the universal standards with 1 digit, the sector standards with 2 digits, the new topic universals, the topic ones that everyone has to talk about, 3 digit, so smaller, but that everyone has to talk about them. They will come in 26 and 27. But the ones that currently exist are in here from the 200, 300, and 400. And we start with 201 until 207, the economic ones. So these, these standards apply only if there is something material to report on these aspects for that organization. If there is something that, based on your materiality assessment, you have to disclose, then you open up this standard and then you disclose what you have to disclose connected to these topics. So usually the economic ones will be relevant for everyone because everyone is kind of most organizations, even non-for-profit, need to disclose on um, economic aspects. So it's important. I think that these 200s apply almost all the time. But things that, or the first aspect that you will disclose is economic performance. So things about what happened in the past, like the direct profit or loss or whatever happened, if it is disclosed in the report, what are the strategies to overcome it? If that is disclosed in there, then it's fine for this. It's okay. It's like a tick in this framework for reporting. You have to disclose aspect of performance. Then connected to market presence, like how what are the kind of percentage of the market, and is it growing? Is it holding? What are the targets? Are you meeting the targets? All of these things. Very importantly, the indirect economic impact. So, for example, investments in infrastructure. I think that is something you can disclose in here. Maybe indirect effects in the community or in the area you can disclose in here. Then we also have procurement. So procurement is to kind of care for the community in an economic way. So if your organization has certain policies for local suppliers, for example, that's something that you will disclose in here. Maybe local employees as well. It's about taking care of the community in an economic way. Then we have, I think, two very clear anti-corruption mechanisms. So maybe whistleblowing, maybe transparency reporting. And then we have anti-competitive. So it's also maybe a little bit connected to market presence, but more in a way of like market behavior of the company, like if there is no monopolistic approach to what they are doing. And finally, tax compliance. Like, I mean, it's difficult to talk about tax in numbers, but more about like showing how the company is complying with tax obligations. So this is about economics, and as you can see, most of the time everything applies. Like everything in it for every organization, economics aspects apply. But now, then we move to the next one, to the environment, like topic standards that are for the environment. And here we'll see if everything applies or not. Because we have materials, which is the first one, and maybe not all the organizations need to disclose about materials because, of course, materials in a factory is very important, but maybe for example, in the university, I'm not sure if materials is that important. Like we use things, we have certain things in the university, but we have waste, which maybe is more relevant for the university. So this is when the standard exists, but maybe you don't have to disclose it. It's okay if you don't talk about materials. The reason is because it doesn't apply or it's not material. It sounds very strange, but materials are not material because maybe it's not going to affect the reporting if you don't talk about materials because you don't have enough materials to talk about. So this is a good example of when the topic standards might not be required to be disclosed. But if they have to be disclosed, then you talk about recycling of materials, like the kind of m- kind of volume of materials that you are using, and if there is like a strategy to reduce the amount of materials, because materials of flows of course are important. If you are using certain kinds of materials that require things that we need to be careful with. And then we have the one that currently exists, energy 302. Because remember, if we take a look, we have energy in here, the new standard. So right now it's in here. For some reason, I do not see an organization that should not report on energy, but right now it's the ones that you can choose not to. But I think energy, everyone needs to report on energy. So of course, it's about consumption, about green energies, the plan to reduce energy, everything that is rejected related to energy. It can be electricity or it can be gas. If gas is important for the organization. And then the next one is water, water use, water pollution, water withdrawal. If you are withdrawing water in your own organization, so it's everything about water. Again, it depends on the organization. If it is material, like maybe a small office is not material enough to talk about water, it depends on how you assess and how you justify that. Then we have biodiversity. I already mentioned that biodiversity is also in the new ones that will come soon here. But right now, for 2025, we still need to disclose biodiversity only if it applies to 304. And then we have emissions, that emissions, the new the new standard that everyone will have to talk about is climate change. It's like they changed the name, but it's the same thing. So emissions, right now it's optional. Again, I don't see how a company or an organization won't talk about emissions. It's greenhouse gases. It is about nitrogen oxide, is also about sulfur oxide. This kind of emissions, there are different ones. I think carbon dioxide is the one that applies to everyone. Maybe the others are maybe not for everyone, but it's about talking about emissions. How much emissions do you have? What is the plan to reduce that? What are you doing? Here, I think it's very important in emissions to talk about the scopes, because some emissions are direct, like things that you do. Other emissions are because of things that you buy. So you buy certain things and then you are kind of absorbing the emissions from that. And finally, the scope three. You remember scope three, the ones that are part of the supply chain, but that are not really like they're a little bit far away from you. You do not control them, you do not buy them. It's only that they are part of the supply chain. So for emissions, right now 305, and in the future, climate change, you will have to disclose also the scopes of your impact. Then we have waste, which I think it also applies for everyone, and it's about the strategy to reduce waste, the strategy to handle waste, about recycling. And then we also have a supplier environmental assessment 308. There is no 307 because it was removed. I cannot remember which one what is, but it doesn't exist anymore. So we jump to 308, which is supplier environmental assessment. So it's you need to show how you assess that your suppliers comply with different environmental things. So again, it depends on the organization. Maybe you don't have to do it, but if you have suppliers that have an impact, depending on your materiality assessment, then you report on that. Then we move to the social ones, and here we have a lot. And I think some of them are a bit obvious, so I don't really need to go into detail into them. I think, again, similar to the ones in the economics, here many also apply directly, like employment, labor and management, health, training and education, diversity, non-discrimination, freedom of association, child labor, compulsory labor or slavery, security practices, rights of indigenous people, local communities, supplier, social assessment, public policy, customer health and safety, marketing, labeling, customer privacy, everything I think is relevant for almost all organizations. Like maybe sometimes indigenous people will not be relevant for some of them, but beyond that one, I think everything needs to be disclosed. And what should you disclose? The same thing. For example, for employment, about um, employees, what's happening with your employees, like what are the benefits that they have, what is the situation, What is the strategy to improve the situation? Are there any risks? Are there any opportunities in there? Also disclose what is material for employees. Is maybe uh, I don't know, like benefits, something material that is worth discussing, you need to make that assessment as well. And I brought to the table the topic of materiality because I told you that in every GRI that is relevant for your report, you need to assess the materiality. So it's true. You have to report it at the very beginning. What is the process that you follow? What's your strategy? Do you have a committee? Do you have a consultant? Do you have an expert? Do you have a director? How do you reach the materiality, this process that is describing here? How do you do it in practice, in operation? But then in every of these ones, from the 201 until the 418, you have to disclose individually. How do you make the materiality? Why are you talking about that and not something else? Why is this important? So every aspect matters in here. So I think with this, we finished talking about the standards one by one. I think we can now move to the next video where we are going to learn how to put this into practice. What are you going to do actually in your assignments and exam and the group assignment? So I will explain that in the next video.